Good afternoon. Welcome to EdTech Playground. We just added a link into the chat if you want to click on that and tell us where you are joining from today. You can see where we are all spread around. Hi, Peggy. So, yep, putting it in the chat is great, but we have a link above that I just posted. If you want to actually drop a pin, we're going to see on a map. We can visually see where we're all sprinkled around. I'll drop that again. All right. Wow, New York. Couple people from New York. Yay, Vanessa. That's a lot of Santa Cruz peeps in the house. Oh, Jeremiah, I don't think we talked about that. Family from Reading, that's awesome.
Yeah, I have a lot of family that lives up front of the company there, so good times.
So when you visit, do you go to the Sundial Bridge?
It's one of our favorite places to check out. Yeah, I can't wait to show my son the park and let him walk across. So the water's got to be crazy in the Sac this time of year with all the water it's coming down. It's got to be amazing.
Yeah, it has fluctuated for sure.
We drove up past the lake to see how full it had gotten. I've never seen it that full. That's so crazy.
Yeah, at the beginning of spring, we were about 3 feet from the top. We're a little lower now, but it was like, I can't remember the last time we saw it that high. So it's been exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we were there in September of last year, and I had never seen it that low. So to see those two extremes, it was like, what the heck? Scary.
Okay. Thank you for joining, everyone. This is so exciting. We've got a great amount of distance here with everyone on the call. Okay, Anu, are you ready to introduce the team?
Oh, Anu, you're on mute. I feel like.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay. So let's get started and let me introduce you to our team over here. Starting with Tani Reinhardt, and she's the EdTech and Distance Learning Coordinator at the Sacramento County Office of Education. And along with her, we have Sarah Colbeck. She's the EdTech Coordinator from Shasta County Office of Education. And we have Stephanie Sumarna. She's EdTech and Innovation Chota at the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. And we also have with us Krista Norum. She's the EdTech coordinator at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And myself, I'm Anupama Gupta. I'm the EdTech coordinator also at Santa Clara County Office of Education. So that's our team right here. And I'll give it back to Stephanie.
Yeah, thanks, Anu. So on the next slide, we just really quickly have some norms for today. Just a reminder to mute and unmute strategically. So if you're not the person speaking, go ahead and make sure you're on mute. And if not, like, we welcome comments, questions. Please feel free to interact in the chat, use the reaction features to raise your hand or to share an emotion. We love when you show your video. We will be taking an essay in just a moment of all our attendees. It's so great to see you all here joining our network from all across, not just California, but beyond. And please participate. Like I said, we love when you participate in the chat, share your reactions, your expertise. And of course, we're all adults. We're at the end of a long work day. So if you need to take a break, please don't feel shy about going ahead and muting your camera and getting a sip of water as you need. Keep those water and snacks handy, and we'll keep moving along. So on the next slide, we're going to just take a look at our agenda for today. We'll be welcoming you all and explaining a little bit about our EdTech playgrounds and our Teacher Innovation Network. And then we'll be sharing and hearing from our featured speakers this evening, who will be sharing about ways to set up get your math year started off correctly. And then we'll have some words during our closing before we end today. So we're going to be sharing a little bit about, I know we're really excited this year to roll out some of our partners, and we'll be passing it over to them to introduce the stipend opportunity for this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph, for that introduction. And my name is Tanya Reinhardt. I'm a part of the Teacher Innovation Network. And this year we had the honor of partnering with Seasons of CS and the CDE Foundation. And they saw the work that we were doing last year with our EdTech playgrounds and got really excited to just come alongside and support what we're doing. And so we've advertised that because of our partners, we're able to offer a stipend for any California educator. And we're going to talk a lot about those details towards the end, because we want to jump into our amazing presenters. But to sort of make the connection for why we're partnering with computer science, we have Kat Goyette. So I'm going to hand it over to Kat and let her just introduce EdTech and the bridge to computer science.
Thank you, Tani. I'm so glad to be here. This is an exciting place to be. If you hear, hopefully you don't hear too much of the gardening in the background. I don't know why they're here so late when it's hot outside. But anyway, so yes, I am here to talk about computer science and how EdTech can be a pathway to that. If we look at the next slide, we are so excited to partner as part of the Educator Workforce Investment Grant. Our Seasons of CS is an opportunity for professional learning for computer science all over the state. And so we are excited to bring in some digital learning EdTech opportunities as well, because we believe that it is a great fit and one leads to another. So if we look at the next slide, what you'll notice is with our digital learning, with digital literacy, as our students get on the road and start to experience some of those ISTE standards, what happens is it really prepares them for computer science, for those computer science concepts. So as you engage in today's workshop, you can consider any potential connections to computer science if you want. If you say, I don't even know what computer science is, don't worry, that's okay. We have some great opportunities where you can go and explore in the future, and I'll be showing some connections at the end of today to today's workshop specifically. But we really thank you for being here. You are learning a lot about EdTech and utilizing technology tools for learning. And to go deeper, to get our students going deeper, you can join us in some of the other opportunities. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Kat. So what we're going to do now before we jump into our speakers is we're going to take what Stephanie called an USSI. So Jesse, if we could stop sharing screen real fast so we can see everybody's beautiful faces. This is that great opportunity to turn on your cameras. And if you want to turn it off for the rest of the time, we totally get that. But everybody just get in and let's go ahead and take an USSI. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, everybody say cheese.
Okay, Tani like unlocked some magical portal where she's frozen like a picture, but I think the rest of us are still going. So we're going to keep moving forward and hope that she rejoins us. So without further ado, I just want to thank you all so much again for joining us. And we're going to pass it over to our guest speakers for today's session. So at each EdTech Playground, we are always greeted by 2 presenters who share their expertise with us. And today we are lucky enough to be joined by 2 people from the EduProtocols team. So we have Lisa Nowakowski and Jeremiah Roosh, who are going to be sharing with us how to get our math year started off right. So I'll turn it over to you 2. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you all for letting us be here. Would it be okay if I share my slides?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Oh,
Maybe I'll make
sharing as disabled.
okay.
As we're getting started, let me just say I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to introduce Lisa Nowakowski. She's going to be introducing something very important for starting your year off right. So I'll take a little bit of the first bit of this session. We're going to walk through some things and talk about some stuff, and then Lisa's going to jump in and walk us through the rest of it. Lisa, do you want to share anything?
I'm super excited to be here. I'm so honored to work with Jeremiah. We spout out each other's. We just drown each other in all sorts of. I can't even talk. Sorry. Today was the first day of school with students, so there's that. I didn't have students. I was in a classroom, so I did get to see students today. But we do complement each other very well. So I'm a little bit hyper and ecstatic, and Jeremiah kind of brings it down, and so we're a really nice little balance. And I have the most respect for him. So without further ado, Jeremiah, where'd you go? You're here somewhere.
I'm right here.
There you go.
I'm going to
Okay.
tell you all, I spent most of today playing in an indoor playground with my 4-year-old son, running around in different areas and contraptions. And I guess that would be considered like yoga and also like torture, like this combination of the two. So that was a lot of fun. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and jump in. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that wonderful sentiments. In working this idea through how do you start off your school year, Lisa and I were talking, and this idea that really kind of came up was this idea of both heart and mind. We're kind of in this like weird post-ish pandemic-ish kind of thing, which is still there, and there's still evidence everywhere. And last year was hard. The last couple of years have been really hard. And so we thought it'd be really nice just to kind of think about one of the things that we both really enjoy about the EduProtocols is this idea that it allows us to work less, but also to have students learn more. And so we really want to honor that opportunity and show you how that can be unfolded in some of the work that we're going to do. So we're going to give you a little bit of a chance to experience it, because to understand it, you kind of have to do it and feel it, but also then give you the background and the reasons why we enjoy it so much. Okay, so we're going to definitely invite anyone that has an idea or a thought. Please share it either in the chat, or if you need to, or if you can, unmute and share your voice into the space. We're always encouraging of that. So we're going to jump in right away with one of my favorite protocols, and we're going to go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to ask you to do some noticing and some wondering. So for this very first bit here, please don't shout out anything in the chat or blurt out anything into the space. Just take a little bit of time to take a notice, take a gander, look around and see what's kind of popping out for you. And then I'll have an opportunity for everyone to share out. Okay. So here is the very first picture. What do you notice? What do you wonder? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds or so to take a good look at that. All right, so that was 30 seconds. And sometimes just pausing for that think time can be a challenge for sure. So I appreciate everyone doing so well in that. Normally what I'd like you guys to do is to go into breakout rooms and kind of have a conversation around that. But just for the sake of our shrink time limit, what I'd invite you to do is instead of that, just share out some ideas or some observations or some wonderings that you may have, either in the chat or vocalizing them into the space. What did you notice or what did you wonder? Ms. Baldwin says, all start and end at the same time, place, but the path or journey is different each time. Interesting idea. Okay. I like that you're seeing a pathway there. Oh, there's a question about being data related. I noticed that there are highest in the middle. Okay. There's some smoothing or jagged bell curves. All right. Let's see. Look at those different mountains. Oh, okay. So we're seeing some shapes like mountains. I love it. Wonders next under the rectangles. Okay. I'm noticing that there are 4 humps, and I wonder if this is a COVID data. Ooh, interesting. So many different observations. The bottom has a block. Okay. Analog is very smooth. The digital set. I wonder what the data is showing. So we have a lot of language kind of popping up here, and there seems to be some general questions around maybe if this is data-ish or COVID-ish related, or some questions around those ideas. Very interesting. I notice that there are no numbers. Oh, interesting. So you're recognizing what's missing now. Oh, okay. Now there's a comparison about the data. Maybe hiking. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, we didn't give any foreground into what this was a representation of. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to remove one layer of things, and I'm going to ask you the same question. What are you noticing and what are you wondering? I'm not going to ask for any wait time here. I'm just going to, whenever you start to see things or you're welcome to share them into the chat. So what do you notice and what do you wonder with what's missing? Labels, some gray on the east side. Okay, so now we're talking about, so maybe these are like mountains. It could be, for sure. It's missing labels, absolutely. It's definitely missing that. And now that one of them has been revealed, now what are you noticing, wondering? Missing data, topics, standard scores. So we're focusing our thinking a little bit more on maybe this is some sort of data kind of thing. Interesting. Okay, all right. Okay, no title. Awesome. Excellent observations. The context is composite used. Interesting. Missing labels. Yeah, the labels seem important, and color, right? There's a little bit of color. You're noticing maybe some color, so maybe some functions. Okay. All right. I'm going to reveal a little bit more, and I'm going to see how does that shape our observations and what maybe we're thinking about now. Interesting ideas here. Okay, graphs. 2 on my left, range graphs. I saw the 2 on my left screen, composite, and below are similar shape, and the one on the other side are similar shapes. Okay, so you're noticing some similarities and differences in the way that the mountain kind of thing is looking. All right, excellent. Saw some more vocabulary around like range and maybe perspectives and number scale. Are these scales all the same for everyone? Okay, all right. Let's look a little bit deeper and see how we're doing. wonder what was measured at this scale. So you're starting to think about some ideas about what, if this is a measure, what would it be measuring, right? All right, let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit more. What questions are coming to your mind now? What are you noticing? What are you seeing? What are you thinking about now? It's starting to look like data test scores. Yeah, does your teacher brain automatically shift, right? From like, whoa, what is this, to, oh, now you're thinking England. Ooh, the person who said, is this from England? What was your indicator? What was your thought about that? Why? Ah, someone else noticed, I noticed maths and not math. Yeah, we're the only country in the world that uses math in the singular and not maths in the plural. That's interesting. Ah, I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one. Nice. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so here's my last question. What do you think is under that last gray square? If you had a guess based on all the observations that you've noticed and all the things that you think these might be about, from hiking to mountains to data to different parts of the world representation, maybe a title, okay? And if it was a title, what do you think it might be? Or a date, maybe? Okay. A base, math scores, student scores, okay. That would be like the title, maybe? All right. All right, let's find out. Let's find out what we have. And if I could have a drum roll, everyone, here we go. Oh, was it what you expected? Was it what you expected? I'm curious. All right, so yes, it was awesome, awesome. Yeah, so sometimes it's good confirmation, right? Sometimes we're like, oh, that's not what I thought it was going to be, right? So this idea is a very simple tool to help. Now, how many of you really felt like or saw some things that you probably wouldn't have seen had you not kind of spent a few minutes walking through the succession of kind of like digging a little bit deeper into it, each iteration? Yeah. Yeah, so you get a deeper sense, and you kind of start to pay attention to commonalities between them, and you start to make other assumptions. So oftentimes we get blinded by the labels or the words or the things that are attached to infographics that we forget to pay attention to some of the other details that might be connected. So this is actually data from 2020. It's from the, I won't say the name because it sounds like doesn't sound nice in the space.
A naughty word, maybe?
It's the address for the data is down below. And so this is a comparison of things. And my goal for showing this is to pique your interest and kind of pay attention to some of the details that often may not be connected. Now, these are density curves of test scores taken over those 4 years. And what you'll see in the article and what they talk about is kind of right here in the red. It's kind of hard to notice, but it's significantly larger in the math area than it is in, let's say, reading or spelling. And the composite is definitely, you can see it's a large part here. The red is a really bad experience. And so what this is indicating, and this is just from 2020, from 2017 to 2020, it's showing the representations of how, even in that short time with the pandemic, how scores have been affected in the schools that they were paying attention to. And this was taken from multiple school sites across the United States and in England, but it was composited. Is that a word? I don't know.
It is now.
England, so, all right. So this is called the Curiosity Creator, and the main idea here is to help you to try to provide opportunities for students to focus in on an idea. And what we just did is a version of what we like to call a data talk. So if you're familiar with number talks, a data talk is very much in that ilk, that very similar fashion, where you walk an audience through a data display and have them notice and wonder about it and build questions and curiosity so that you can see and make sense of how data is being displayed or what data is being displayed. The new frameworks was just adopted this year, and there's a big push for this sort of thing in the framework across all grade levels. And it's a really nice way to invite students into the space where, even if you don't feel like you are, I don't like using this word, but quote unquote, a math person, you still have really awesome opportunities to demonstrate the opportunities and the ideas about mathematical thinking and mathematical ideas. Okay, and so the framework has this as part of that process, is being able to invite spaces and open up spaces for students to be able to share their ideas through a more informal process. And so the only thing that you didn't get to experience was more of that collaborative pair share opportunities to kind of build consensus around what the idea is. My favorite with the Curiosity Creator, before I pass it over to Lisa, is the once you kind of get students going through this, is having them then turn that around and having them create their own. So the last thing is, I'm really big about having students create their own activities, and especially in this regard. So having them learn to cover up what features or what details are important to kind of spark that interest, and kind of like give some information but hide some, so that it makes people wonder about what it is that we're looking at. So and kids really get awesome with the way that they can create that. Okay. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lisa, and she's going to walk us through the next slide.
Well,
Lisa?
before we go to the next slide, I just wanted to kind of like go over some of the things that I was noticing as we were doing it, and just some of the things that I liked about it. And if anybody wants to jump in, feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Is that it allows students, and it doesn't matter what grade level, like when you first look at it, you know, I'm in upper elementary. I come from I've done everything from K5. So, you know, I've done elementary, and you automatically look at it and think, oh, that's like middle school, high school. And so sometimes some of us, and myself included, will have just, you know, a little bit of issues looking at how can I bring this into an elementary classroom, whether it's upper elementary or even a lower elementary. See, and I think you can do it. So Jeremiah, do you agree? Like, this is something you can absolutely do in any classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I was saying I like having my students create it, some of the times I've done this in kindergarten classes, they are the most creative in what they hide. And you can even do this with like sight words and stuff like that. It's pretty cool that you can figure out what you can hide and create this opportunity or this idea.
Right. And so then like looking at, like, we have to do graphing, right? You know, in the in all levels, but like in the elementary, we do the graphing, and it's like one of those things that we don't always get to. And this is one of those things, like when you get to it, like then you can kind of play around with it. Like you can look at it and like maybe it's talking about their favorite ice cream. So you can definitely bring it into like those kindergarten, first grade levels. So I really love that. I also noticed that as we were going through this, people, because we are the authors of the Edge Protocols Math Edition, a lot of people were looking at, oh, these must be math scores, you know, throughout the years, which when I first went through it too, I had the same thought. So like all of our minds were kind of in that same thought. And I love that it's purposeful and it allows students to stop and slow down their thinking instead of looking at all of that. And somebody who, for myself, is a little bit ADHD, I kind of go around, you know, and kind of look at everything, and I can't really focus. So by hiding so much, it really helps me to focus on what am I looking at right now? So it helps to guide that and structure it for me. So Peggy says graphs can be pictures, don't always have to be numbers. What great advice. Absolutely fantastic point. So thank you for that. So Jeremiah, you can go to the next slide. So here we have math reps. So hopefully you're familiar somewhat with math reps. If you're not, that's fantastic too, because we're gonna walk through it. Normally I kind of I walk you through it as if you're a student, and I try to keep it focused at a more of a third grade level. And I know not everybody understands my reasoning for that. So I like to explain my reasoning for that, is that when I have kinder through high school in here, if I show you a third grade level, the kindergarten teacher can access it and see how it's useful in their classroom. And the high school teacher can also understand it. When I go a little bit too high, say like middle school, you kind of lose, you know, especially for me, I've been in trainings, you kind of lose it because I don't understand the math that's being done. So I try to keep it a little bit simple so that we can kind of focus in and keep that cognitive load low for us so we can see it. So what are math reps? You're asking yourself, you're scratching your head, or maybe you're like, I already know. Hey, go back. Oh my gosh. See, look at him. He's so fantastic. Okay, so math reps are multiple skills. I used to say standards, but then once I reflected on that, so I'm constantly changing things around and tweaking. I don't want to say changing, tweaking the definition so that it's more accurate and it accurately reflects what I am thinking and what's actually going on. So I used to say standards, but within one standard, you can have several skills that are being used. So I think of like the NBTs and the numbers in the base 10 within, say, like the 4th, 5th grade level, where you have to add, subtract, multiply, and divide word problems. That's a whole lot of skills that need to be done in there. So what I've done, and it's based on one of the original Edu protocols called 8 Parts of Speech. The process is, instead of focusing on one thing and then moving on to, you know, another, you're just going to practice all of them at once. The genius, okay, can I say genius? Can I say genius? I'm going to say genius. The genius behind Math Reps is that they're the interconnecting skills that go together. So you're doing multiplication and division at the same time. I know some of us are like, what? But it really helps students to see it. We're doing this several different, and you're going to see it in the next slide, several different variations of multiplication on one, in one practice set. And then you repeat this daily. You're giving them immediate feedback. So this is not something that you give them to do at a center and then you check it later. You've lost the plot on that one. So, oh gosh, I hope that wasn't rude. I don't want to be rude. I'm sorry. So Jeremiah is not here to like smack me upside the head. Virtually he can. So, you know, so you're walking around, you're giving that verbal feedback. You're checking it with them right away. And then every day they get faster. So we're going to kind of walk through some of these. And I'm going to give you some examples as well. And because of our shortened time period, again, I'm not having you walk through it, but hopefully if you have any questions, you can feel free to like unmute yourself, put it in the chat. Jeremiah and I will get to it and we're cool. All right, next slide. Yay. Okay, so here's our 3rd grade example. So I love this one. This is my new current favorite one. So like in like 3 weeks, it could be something completely different. So we're just going to harness my love for this one right now. With this one, you can see you have the basic equation of 3 times 4. I don't know why I like that one, but we are where we are in life. So if you just press, because I have it animated. So if you just press, boop, you can see that we're going to start off with repeated addition. So like click somewhere. There you go. Look at that. Oh, too much. That's okay. Just don't click anymore. Okay, so you can see that he's got repeated addition below it where the students can write 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, or they can write 4 plus 4 plus 4, or they can write both of them. And instead of putting an or, you can put an equal sign in there, depending on the level of your students and where you are, you're practicing this, right? So you're going to have, oh, my dogs are going in and out of the house. Focus. So you can have them doing that, and you can have them looking at the relationship between how 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 and 4 plus 4 plus 4 are the same thing, and you can explore why. Then we bop on over to equal groupings, and you can see that we have 4 groups of 3 apples. And then you can explore how that is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And then if you boop it again. So this is based on a 3rd grade standards. This is a 3rd grade math rep. So it is the product unknown. So then you can have them do the array. So they have their rows and their columns. And then you'll notice down there, I have the vocabulary so that they can get used to what is a row, what is a column, what is an array, what is an area. Thank you very much. So then we have the area. So now we're helping them move into the area model so that when they start doing it in 4th grade and 5th grade, when they're doing 32 times 4, they start to see that area model representation of it. So it kind of draws them through it, and it goes through that progression of how it should all be done. And they can start to make the connections like, oh, I get why it's 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, because they have the visual of the equal groupings, and it doesn't have to be apples, right? So it can just, they can just do, they can draw their little circles. I have a teacher in my district who calls them cookies. They're the chocolate chip cookies, she calls them. And so she's like, draw your cookies. And so that for her represents the equal groupings. Okay, you can go to the next slide. I've got a lot of information for you as well. So this is a 1st grade example. And as you can see, this was done on paper pencil. So I'm a huge fan of paper pencil in math, especially in the lower grades. And this just kind of brought it up to the next level. Ben Cogswell, and all of this information will be available to you. And the best part is, wait for it, It's free. Like all of these templates are free. There's an amazing group of templates that are free. And I'm going to show you how to get started with this in the, he's got a whole thing going on there, doesn't he? All right. So sorry about that. So you can see that with this one, we had them using, these were the manipulatives that the teacher had in her classroom. So we had them kind of plunking them down so that they could color them in when they were done, so that they could see that visual representation of 20. They could take those same manipulatives and put them on the base 10s. So we had them doing that. Oh, you're trying to find some templates. That's okay. Go to the next slide. And you'll see how these kind of grow throughout time. So you can see the progression of these, where you saw the first one, that first grade one, which really focused in on that number sense of what that number looks like. And here we have, this is Cindy. We have these on white books now. What? They're absolutely beautiful. So love the use of the whiteboard, so you can, yes, reuse. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. These are so beautiful. Like, these look great right now, but holy cow, I got a hold of them to see them in real life. They are gorgeous. I am making no money off it. So Whitebook and I we talked it out, and it's kind of on a trial run. So it's at a second and a third grade level. So this is the third grade one. And if you're like, I'm not going to buy those, cool. This exact template, well, not exact template, but this template with all of this information that your students can do is for free. So you don't have to worry about it. So you can see the progression is, now we have the same number of the day like we had in first grade, and we have expanded notation like we had in first grade, but now we're adding in, is it an odd or an even number? Now we're adding in, you're going to multiply it by 10, you're going to multiply it by 100, because that is part of the standard. Then we go into using it in word form, right? And we know that word form starts, I think, in second grade, but it might be first grade. And it goes all the way up, right? When I was in fifth grade, they still had it. We have the base 10 representation, which we had in first grade, which will then, will be phased out in the upper grades as well. And I do want to note, excuse me, that the square is 100, the line is 10, and I like to use X's for ones, because when you use the dots, which is very, very popular, and if that is what you want to do, guess what? You get to do it, because I'm not in charge of you. And it's what works for you. And we love this. This is the flexibility that happens with all of these things. And doing great. And so the X's are a little bit harder for the kids to, get them grouped, to get them mixed up. So when they have the dots, they lose track of them. And especially when you're grouping them into groups of 10, it gets a little wonky. So I just suggest that. Take it, leave it, make it better. And then of course we have where is this on the number line? So they have to find it on the number line, and then they can round to the nearest whatever. Okay, go to the next one. All right, this is a fourth grade example. And so I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is in a plastic sleeve. So this teacher, Maria, she is from New Jersey. She puts it inside of a plastic sleeve, and the kids write on it on a plastic sleeve. This is a fourth grade, so they're comparing. So you can see they have that visual of comparing. You have that number line down there on the bottom. That number line is so helpful for so many students. Can you go to the next one? And don't worry, I got you upper grade. Okay, this is the original. This is the OG one that took me like 45 minutes to do the first time I did it. I kid you not. He did the same thing eventually when you taught. So thank you. A vis-a-vis pen. Oh, I miss those. Yeah, they are good, right? You can either use vis-a-vis or you can use like the whiteboard markers too. There's so many options with this. Somebody made, I think it was a fourth grade math rep in Desmos. They like coded it and everything. It was phenomenal. I don't even understand it. So there is your CS, like the coding aspect of it, at least for you, right? So here you have, like, you can see you have, your times 10, your, 100 times greater, to the third power. You have your, over on the left side, you have them adding, and of course they're going to be having to regroup. You go to the middle, you have all of that basic stuff that you need to do with your expanded notation, the fractions, that number of the day is still there. So that's that consistent number of the day, and you're manipulating that number so that it has more meaning for the students and they get to do it daily. And then there's the less. And of course, there's the subtraction over there, which of course they're going to have to not only regroup, but they're going to have to regroup using zeros. What? And they don't know how to do it. You teach it in 3rd grade, and then they go to 4th grade and they've acted like they've never seen it before in their lives. Then they go to 5th grade and then they act like they have never seen it before in their lives, and so on and so on and so on until they finally understand it. Go ahead to the next slide, because I want to kind of get out of elementary. So this is John Carippo. He is one of the co-creators of Edu Protocols. And he would call me. So a few years ago, he went into the classroom and he would call me up. I need a math rep for this. I need a math rep for that. And so I was making these math reps for him. And I will do the same for you. Yes, you need me to create a math rep. I'm here for you. I got you. I will make that math rep. Tell me what you need. Okay, unless it's like algebra 2, like I'm gonna pawn that off on somebody else, but I will find somebody for you, because that's a little bit above me. I need to go back and refresh all of those skills for myself. But as he was doing them throughout the year, he realized he had his own vision. So he was no longer just having me make them and consuming it. He then became a creator of them. So I love this. And this is a really great one with all of this different, the nuts area thing. It's fantastic. And they start to get it. Go to the next one. And then we also have an example from Kristen Morales, who is absolutely phenomenal. So middle school and high school teachers, yeah, everybody is really supportive. Thanks. So she does a lot of middle school and high school work, and she does some phenomenal work. So she is the person that I often refer to, and Jeremiah too, to talk with for those middle school, high school, higher things. So you can see in the middle there, it says today's angle, and you can just manipulate everything here using that one little thing. So what is the beauty of this for you? As a teacher, all you do is you come up with one number, or in this case, one angle. And then if you're like me, and you probably are, you look at your students and you're like, you come up with an angle, you come up with a number. So now I'm not even doing anything. So now, how do I know that this works? Why are Jeremiah and I so passionate about like math edu protocols and math reps itself? So Jeremiah says that he used these in teaching AP calculus, all grade levels. We got you. You heard it from him, folks. He is the elusive one. So if you went to either the Edu Protocols Academies over this summer and everybody asked about him because nobody knows what he looks like, this is what he looks like. This is fantastic. We're so happy to have him. Can you go to the next slide? Yes, we have them on Jamboard. I have not updated the Jamboard in quite a while because I had the thought of like, well, you can take a screenshot and put it on Jamboard. I got lazy. No, excuse me. I got efficient. I empowered you. That's what I did. I empowered you. So, but if you do have trouble and you want, if you're like, that's not in your wheelhouse with Jamboard, but you want it in Jamboard, hit me up and I will help you with that. Also, if you, they're also in FigJam. So if you have access to FigJam, somebody's put them in FigJam. They're in Seesaw. They're just kind of everywhere. So what am I looking at? So you're like, you're just yammering on about other things, Lisa. So I'm like, I brought you some cold, hard statistical facts. So I worked with a 3rd grade team this year, and we do something called achievement teams where we set up the SMART goals and all that really good stuff, right? So you can see it right there. I don't have to read it to you for adults. But you can see that in the beginning, they had like 19%. Actually, it was a little bit lower because we had to adjust some things. Go to the next slide. They went from 18.7% to 82.67%. Their goal, the standard that they chose was fractions. They implemented it with their, they used math reps on a daily basis along with their core instruction. And these are the gains that they saw in a relatively short period of time. The teachers I spoke with anecdotally were sharing with me how they felt that this helped them to get the kids to solidify. Now you're asking, what did that one look like? And I forgot to put it in here. So this had, it had I can't remember if it had 1 or 2 fractions, but it had, what is the numerator? What is the denominator? Put it on a number line, divide it using a rectangle, divide it equally into whatever fraction I gave them, or this teacher gave them, and a circle whatever fraction they gave them. They had a partition in that. So they were doing this repetitiously daily. So think about, like, if you're a 3rd grade teacher out there and you're like, oh my God, that's so hard for them to partition, whether it's in quarters or putting it on the number line. And when I say put it on the number line, the first number line that they did, and I worked with them to create this, the first number line had the numbers in it, so they were spaced evenly. The second one just had a number line on it, and the students had to space it evenly. Through that repetition and that practice, they were able to be successful in that and go to an 82.67%. And that was grade level. So that wasn't one particular class, that was their grade level. So that was phenomenal growth, and they were so impressed with themselves. Yes, thank you. So yes, Jeremiah, I'm working less. Oh, that's not what I have, friend, but okay, thank you. So go to the next slide. This is more, this is just more data, so I'm not going to go to this. Go to the next one. So where can you get all of this? You say mathreps.com. It's all free. So we really encourage you to go there. Next slide. So how do you get started? This one's really important. So if you are elementary, I would say you can do a 6-week cycle with it. If you're middle school, high school, because of your time frame, especially high school, you're probably going to bring it down to about, thank you, Stephanie, about down to 4 weeks or so, 3 to 4 weeks, and you're going to get it. So you might, high school, you might shrink up this first week. Day 1, you're doing it all together with them. And so they're getting that immediate feedback. Day 2, you're doing it all together with them. Day 3, you have some kids who want to, day 3, you want to have those kids, some of those kids are going to want to go ahead. You're going to let those kids go ahead, but you're going to make sure that they're checking with you when you get to that one. So they're still getting that immediate feedback. Day 4, you have more kids doing it. Day 5, you either do it again, take a break, or use it as a baseline assessment. I do use it as assessments on Fridays. So day 1, that first time you saw it, that 5th grade one took me 45 minutes. By day 5, I was down to about 12 minutes. So you don't have to do it all if you don't have that much time. Take your time with it so that they are, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So take your time with it. So if you only have to do half a page and that's the time that you have, please feel free to do that. This is not a hard and fast rule. This is what feels right for your classroom. If there are certain boxes, I always say boxes because a lot of them are boxes. If there's a section on that math rep that doesn't work for you, please take it off. If there's a student in your classroom who can't do the whole thing because of some neurodivergence or because of an IEP or because of a difference that they have, take it off for them. Nobody else is going to know, especially if you're assigning it digitally. Then if you're looking at weeks 2 through 6, you're going to give it to them. You're going to give them the number and they're going to work through it. You're going to give them a certain amount of time to work on it. You're not going to give them 20 minutes to work on it. They don't need 20 minutes. If you got through it as a class in 10 minutes on Friday, then you are giving them 12 minutes to do it, because let's face it, I mean, they're not going to get through it in all 10 minutes because you're moving it along. This is yes. So Jeremiah says it's a really great way to meet those individual students. And then on Fridays, make sure that you're giving it as an assessment. When a student has met their goal, has mastery in that, don't make them do the math prep the next week. Give them some enrichment activities to do. I often had them making video tutorials. The rest of the class was working on the math reps. We checked it daily. And then on Fridays, everybody, including the students who had received mastery, just get that checkup for the assessment on Fridays. Go ahead and go to the go down to slide. So these are just some mathematical practices and how they fit in with our math edu protocols. Next slide. math language routines, which I've been taking a year-long deep dive into, and I'm in love with them. So again, just how some of them fit in with Edu protocols, math Edu protocols. Next slide. I've got some special news for you. Now, this right here, if you go ahead and use this, you can be, oh, there it is. You can be entered into a drawing with White Book. It will not get you a White Book that is a math rep one. It's just a generic one that they'll give you that's blank on them. So you can go ahead and enter that. And I'm trying to look for the link right now. So you can go ahead and enter that. Oh, I know where it is. Thank you for answering that question. So you can go ahead and enter that, and they'll give you a packet of 25 and they're blank that the students can use. Oh, okay. See, he told me 3 minutes, that big old liar. Okay, see, now I can go back, right? Now he made me, see, I'm on the same page, right? Okay, so we were keeping track of time. Yes, so let me find that. I know where that link is now. I kind of freaked out just a minute. So I'm going to stop because that was a whole lot of information that I dumped on you, and I want to stop and I want to ask, are there any, excuse me, are there any questions, comments? That was, again, that was a ton of information. Okay, Jeremiah, can you go back up to the starting and progressing, please? He made me rush. I'm going to blame Jeremiah for this one. But again, so looking at all of this and knowing how to do this, so really the day one, that first week, you're setting them up for success. You're showing them what you expect. So that on day 4, when they see the same piece of paper, again, I say paper because that's what I always used. When you see the same, when they see the same piece of paper again, they don't have that high cognitive load of how do I navigate this worksheet? So some people have come to me and said, but this is just a worksheet. You know what? If you want to call it a worksheet, call it a worksheet. I'm not going to get bogged down in the semantics of it all. Great, it's a worksheet, cool. But the point is, the students know exactly what to do with it. And then if you could go back up, Jeremiah, sorry, to the 5th, yeah, go to the 5th grade example. All right, yeah, okay. So on this left side where it says 10 times greater and 100 times greater, what you should do, okay, you want to be devious to your kids, right? Okay, what you should do is you should go ahead and, well, yes, Kat, yes. Switch them around to see if they're paying attention, or switch sides on everything to see, like, put the addition side over on the subtraction side and the subtraction side over on the addition side when you're giving them the assessment, just to see if they're paying attention, or are they just going through it rote. And they were, yes, exactly, right? So you want to mess with them. First of all, because it brings us pleasure, but secondly, because we want to keep them on their toes. We want them to be focused and understanding. So Kat had asked, and even with the assessment, is it the same sheet? Yes, same sheet. If you're messing with them throughout the week, I mean, if you're not messing with them throughout the week and you have this sheet and then you mess with them on Friday, I kind of see that as a little bit unfair, almost like a gotcha kind of thing. But if you're messing with them throughout the week and then continue to mess with them on that Friday for the assessment, definitely not a gotcha. I'm a fan of that sort of thing. Yeah, so it definitely can be a memorization thing, which is why I suggest not doing it. Now, if you're teaching 5th grade, so this one, and then you move on to, say, the multiplication and the division page, you're plugging along on that one. You're plugging along, right? So you've got about 2, 3, about 3 weeks under your belt on that one. Week number 4, throw them this one. Just go back to the original one that you started with. They will look at you like you have sprouted 3 heads and they have no idea what to do because they think they've forgotten everything. So that first day you give it to them, like, so again, they've mastered this. Now you're on to multiplication and division. Week 4, you throw this curveball at them. You're going to have to kind of go through it the first day and just go through it the first day with them. And then day 2, they'll remember it. It's amazing. Yeah, just change the number. So The white books are awesome. So the cool thing about the white books, if you're a second or third grade, I can say it will probably work first through fourth. So like the third grade ones, I have a friend who teaches third grade. She bought the fourth grade ones, and she's planning on using them with her fourth grade students, just to get some of that going again, because you want to start them with something that they feel confident with. So you can actually modify it for them. When
And
you
I'll say
start
that-
use, yeah.
I was just going to say, so when I was teaching 8th grade, one of the things that I got from a 6th grade teacher in doing these, kind of answering back to Kat's question, is it was the same worksheet, if you want to call it that, every day.
Yeah.
And then even the number was the same for me. And what I found is that as students kind of got used to like it, and not necessarily memorization, but kind of memorization about where the different parts went. On Friday, the 6th grade teacher talked about maybe having them reflect on it, and really like struck a chord with me. And so I had students take a picture. We had iPads, and so they would take a picture of their work, and they would upload that into a slide deck that I had. And so they would play that for each of the 4 days, and on Friday they would do it again. But their quiz for the week was a reflection on how did they see themselves growing and what they were able to accomplish over the week. And so it was really nice to see. And the idea I kind of had was like a playbook, right? If they hit play on the slide deck, they could literally see like a stop motion movie of their growth. And it was a really nice way to kind of get them to start reflecting on their own growth over the week. And so it was really neat to see some of them realize that even in a short distance of a week, they were able to really expand on what they were able to do in their learning during that time. So the flexibility with these is as limited as your own imagination and how you can applicate it. And that's what I think for both of us is why this is so, even after all these years, is still inventory. And some of you guys are showing ideas that I'm like, oh, I could see that, right? Like we're better together. So I'll just leave it at that. I just wanted to throw that out there as another option.
Absolutely. And so I did some of those things too. And I loved that reflection piece. But what I did on Fridays with my students is we had that, and then I'm looking for your thing right now. What I had here it is, reflection. So what I had my students do is once they got their assessment back, they made a reflection based on their assessment. So I didn't quite use what Jeremiah did, but I took his idea, who he took from a 6th grade teacher. So see, look, we just recycle ideas, right? But we also give credit, because we need to give credit where credit is due. So I had my students looking at what they did and create goals for the next week. Now, my students were hysterical, and they would be like, I'm going to get 100%. I'm like, oh, baby, but you got 1 right this week. So like, let's rethink this process. Like, you did really well with like the, expanded notation. So like, maybe pick 2 things that you want to work on for next week. So while they did the whole page, they were really focusing on this is the goal that I really want to do, so that they were able to do it. So I just dropped in Jeremiah's, reflection sheet that he does, which is amazing. So Jeremiah, can you go back down to the raffle? So again, the raffle is right there. So I can't find the quick link right away. I know it's something really crazy. And so this is just, please feel free. They choose a winner. It's fantastic. So just, go ahead, take your phone and just do it. It's great. And all of this information will be there for you in all of the notes and everything. I believe, oh, maybe I have it. Do I have it right here? I did. I linked it. Look at me. Go me. So here's the raffle. Oh, you did it. Look at Stephanie's on top of it. Love this. Jeremiah, go to the next one, please. All right. And so finally, he's 27 entries. See, now I'm going to get an email that says, please pick a winner. I don't pick a winner. So let me know. Let me just tell you, I do not pick a winner at this at all. So again, if you're interested in the white books, they are a pack of 25 for $80. I know you're like, it's steep. That's steep. Because, okay, I once threw a fit because the jean skirt at the Gap cost $4.99. I didn't want to buy it because it was too expensive. All right. Like, I'm super cheap. If you think about the time that you're going to save on kids losing, kids don't have it. You have to go get a piece of paper. You have to, they don't sell them in 36. I know, right? Okay. So, right. yes, how much for 36, right? And I said that, I was like, 25 is super great, but like nobody ever has 25 kids. You have like 28 kids, so I need 2 more. They suggested contacting them and they will help work with you. They don't break up the packs because they come up in packs like that, but they'll help work with you. They're an amazing company that is constantly giving, discounts and things like this. So even on this one, like once you go to click on it, so let me bring it up, there it is. So once you go on it, it'll come up with like a 20% discount, right? So like just sign in your name and then it's like a 20% discount, which I just love. But they'll also continue to work with you. So please feel free to contact them. Do you have any questions for us? I know that was, again, a lot of information. Well, thank you. Cancel. There we go.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa and Jeremiah. We've got applause, and it looks like, Kat, do you maybe have a question, or do you want to go ahead and unmute?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me? Okay. No, I'm just wondering, was there ever any, especially with the older grades, I'm going to be doing 8th and 9th, pre-algebra math resource, the buy-in. I mean, were they ever, it was like the same worksheet every day? Was there any ever like, just
Did they get
kick back
bored
on
of it?
it? Or, I mean, how did you, or was it seeing the success on that Friday that they got more into it? Or was there, I'm just wondering if you got any feedback that was maybe more negative, mostly with the students, not us, but.
Yeah, I can tell you a story about that, Kat. That's a really good question. So when I started teaching 8th grade, I came in February, taking over for a teacher who couldn't pass their eligibility requirements, so they were unable to teach anymore. So I took over his class, and the class behaviors in the 7 periods were difficult. Let's just put it that way.
Right,
okay. Right. And so they were really far behind, and so there was the social emotional stuff that we had to deal with, as well as the academic stuff we had to deal with. And so I think that the thing that really got them on board with this just right off the bat is it was something that was, if you make the floor low enough, people like to feel a success, right? And especially in a class like math. And so starting off with something that they can feel success in creates that buy-in as they kind of start building through it. Now, I just gave it to him, and I had him, I didn't, just being me, I just gave it to him and said, here you go, right? And then I gave them about 5 or 10 minutes or so, and they did as much as they could. And then I walked through them and I did every one of the problems with them. And that was the very first class period they had with me that first year, right? So I was like, hello, I'm Mr. Roosh. Here's the thing, I'm testing you. Good luck. Right. And then I was like, blah, 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 going through each one. And then the next day I did it again, right? And so it was a little rough at first because one, I had rules, well, go figure. And then also, and expectations and stuff like that. Kids didn't love it, especially at the beginning. But what I communicated to them is that I had a high expectations of them, and that I told them, and by having this standard set high, it made them believe that they were capable. And so out of the 120-ish students that I had, I only had one that gave me more difficulty than anyone else I've had in my career outside of this, but she was still able to complete these. So I think that there's in this room, everyone has different stories, but the story I can tell you is that one, make it low enough so that they can get into there, right? And get that repetition and get that skill. The idea of these is to build skills, not to build conceptual development sorts of things. So there's that balance, so that you need to be careful with that. And then also letting them see their success, right? There's no better indicator for that than having them change their mind about what they're capable of doing. And so that's where the buy-in comes in. So I'll go on it for hours. I'll shut up it now, but that's what I found in my experience with them.
Thank you. No, that totally makes sense.
And I'll say, when you get started with this, definitely start off with a grade level or even 2 below, so that they start to feel that success. Don't spend a whole lot of time on it, but so they feel that success, they, kind of get back. So like I was in a 4th grade class today, I would probably go back and do maybe a 2nd grade skill of like adding and subtracting. just so that they can feel successful, maybe spend no more than a week on it, right? Just so that you start with that low cognitive load for them. And I always say, like, you can't access the DOK, like, some districts are like, no, we need more rigor, and they think that that means harder. And you can't access hard concepts, like the DOK 3s and 4s without knowing your DOK 1 skills. Like, it's just, I just can't, I can't run a marathon unless I know how to walk and then run, right?
I have a question. How this sounds really silly, but I know that when I was in the third grade, when I was teaching third grade, one of the things that was always so hard, like I loved math reps, and I was always totally overthinking how to pick the number for the day. Do you have any tips or tricks, or like what did you use to get started on what the number was, or what problems you would use?
Personally, I just picked a number at random. So third grade, like it's a, if we're doing, a 3-digit number and we're adding, random number pickers too. I'd be like, 154. Great. You, Jeremiah, give me another 3-digit number. Or I would just pick 2 kids, or like 1 kid, or this group, you pick a number, this group, you pick the next number that we're going to work with. So I'm thinking if there was a comparing one that I'm thinking of. So that's what you would do it. Random number picker. Like, you can just Google random number picker in Google and give it from like 100 to 999, and it'll pick a number for you. Like, I pawn it off on the kids. The date, so it's especially in the lower grades, like the date, the school year, day 94 of 180, things like that.
And then for grades, you can even have them choose, like, just choose a number, like your room number, and then the same number all week, but every week it's a different question, right? So what is the answer? What's an equation that solved this? This is the answer, right? What is the number of ways that you can do this thing? Like, there's lots of ways that you can incorporate just a simple number idea. Again, unfortunately, we don't get a chance to do this very often, but even as teachers, we're so stuck in our ways that we were experiencing math and understanding how math was, right? That we tend not to think that we can, like, experience or try or test other ideas. Like, we don't necessarily always have that. Birthdays is a great idea, absolutely. Shoe sizes, I saw a teacher do shoe sizes once. I thought that was fun. So that just all kinds of different combinations. So I would challenge you to think about how many new ways as a teacher can you think of incorporating the numbers or whatever. So
number picker wheel,
yeah, that's great.
That's
super great.
And I have a lot of questions with teachers who are maybe a little bit hesitant to get started because they want to make sure that they're doing it and the heart's in the right place. And you're nervous, like, and I do the same thing too. Like, I need to watch a video, I need to see the examples and how it goes. Do I do it, as they're learning it? Do I do it as a review? And my answer is always yes, which I know you gave me a choice. So looking at like the numbers in base 10, like I go back to the 5th grade one where they did all of those things in 4th grade, but now you're just adding in maybe the decimal portion of it. So theoretically, they should be able to do it. Even if you haven't formally taught it, they should theoretically be able to hopefully start making that jump. If not, like, you're working with them through it. So I want to say there's no wrong way to do it, but if you're just giving it to them as homework, or if you're giving it to them as center and they're not getting that immediate feedback, that's where the disconnect will come. So as long as you are doing it and they're getting the immediate feedback, and you're doing it a minimum of 3 times a week, you're good.
Lisa, what you just said is when you're not doing it that way, right? That's when it becomes a worksheet. So the difference is the pedagogy trumps a worksheet, right? So it's what you're doing, not the worksheet itself.
Sorry, I thought I was clear. I'm very clear in my mucky brain. It's a very scary place up here, y'all.
It makes us all better off. So. All right.
Well, perfect. Thank you again so much, Lisa and Jeremiah. If anyone has any last questions, we have just about maybe 2 more minutes, and then we're gonna.
I have to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I have a question, and that is, how are you finding time for this, and how are you grading it? Are you just giving the answers and having them self-grade?
I'm sorry. I was reading Kat's response. We're checking it together immediately. And how do I do it? Instead of doing the problem of the day that was in my math curriculum, I just did this. Jeremiah?
Yeah, it was my warm up. So it was 5 minutes or less. And it was usually when I was taking roll. That's how I did it in the classroom. And I've seen teachers do variations of that. So yeah, it's the ones that take the most time are like the curiosity creator. And usually I have small groups doing it with students once they're trained on how to do it. They're running the show and I just kind of step back. So.
Thank you.
All right, we have time if there's one more question. Okay, with that, I want to say thank you again to Lisa and Jeremiah for spending time with us and for sharing all of those wonderful ideas and for everyone's interaction in the chat. There were so many fresh ideas that were also shared from our attendees. So thank you so much. And we have some logistics to go through before we close out today. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if Jesse, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen again and starting at slide 16. Perfect, thank you. And I'm going to pass it over once again to Catherine, who's going to share with us some ways that what was shared today, just like that infographic, are steps that lead up to computer science. So Catherine, pass to you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yes, again, we're excited to partner with the Teacher Innovation Network to get all of you a little bit more familiar and excited about computer science when you are engaging in ed tech. So one connection that I saw right away, of course, there's a lot of data and analysis in computer science. And so I loved the Notice and Wonder activity, Jeremiah, that you were leading everyone in. And as that was occurring, and this is something that all grade levels can do when they've got their statistics and analysis and such. And so making sure that we realize that we're already doing some of this computer science work is exciting. Also, I loved that you were actually using some abstractions, Jeremiah, because you were removing some of the details so that we could better understand something. And that's one of our core practices in computer science. And then I was thinking about the fact that we have, Lisa, you were talking a lot about the math reps. And I was thinking, what if we did that with code? What if we had some code reps? Could students create code according to their developmental grade level and create something every day that just a small thing changes? Or could they, even better, it's so important for kids to read before they write. Guess what? That works with computer science as well. So could they manipulate and change some things? I'm going to go 10 higher, 10 less, kind of like what Lisa was talking about in the code itself too. So exciting ways that what you are doing in the classroom that Jeremiah and Lisa talked about absolutely can lead to success in computer science. And we have, we're excited to partner with you in all of this and have some another opportunity for you as well. Oh, Jen, code reps, I don't have any examples because I do. Oh, see? Oh, perfect.
I just put, David Platt has actually, he started creating some. So David I put a link above. So yes, there are some.
That is so cool. And Myra says, Notice and Wonder with output from programs. Absolutely, absolutely. So all of these strategies can completely work with CS. That's awesome. I love it. Thank you, Lisa, for that. And let's move on to the next slide. I want to give you a bit of a preview of something that you are invited to to attend. We are having every region is going to have monthly workshops regarding computer science. And so there is an opportunity for stipends, just like you had an opportunity for today for California educators, to see a bit of what that will entail. So if you're a little bit interested in computer science and you're not quite sure if this is for you, we believe that it is, because the implementation plan says that every teacher and student can learn computer science. But we would love to have you join us for an interactive, exciting session on September 19th. And so feel free to join us and take a picture of this to register. And that's all I've got. Who's next?
Thank you so much, Catherine. This is exciting and great opportunities. Thank you for sharing. I think up next, we just have some opportunity to hear from all of you for some feedback. As Jeremiah said, we're better together. So as we're growing our Teacher Innovation Network and as our speaker audience is getting bigger, we'd love to hear what you thought about today's session. There's a few sections in the feedback, just some basic info, teacher innovation feedback, and then some stipend information for the California educators on board. So if we could put the link in the chat for the feedback, that would be great. Thank you. So when you have a moment, like I said, there are 3 sections. So if you could fill that out for us. And then we wanted to introduce our next EdTech Playground. We have some amazing presenters. Joe Marquez is our Q guy. We're excited to have Q on board with Sam Carey. If anyone's ever looked at YouTube for anything like Google Classroom EdTech related, Sam Carey's there with the new EdTech Classroom. So excited to have both of them talk about AI in education. I know it's a hot topic, so can't wait to see what they have to share with us. And that's coming up on September 12th. And there's a link to register on the slides. Yay, I know. And we'll drop the link in the chat as well if you'd like to register for that session. Again, it's from 3:30 to 5 on September 12th. Any questions about the next our next playground? Besides how to sign up, click on the link. Awesome. And we do have a Facebook group that we started fairly recently for the Teacher Innovation Network. We don't have as many group members as the EduProtocols community does, but we're getting there. EduProtocols community also has a Facebook group, but we're going to keep in touch with everyone on this group, as well as things that are coming out that we'd like to share, and then any resources that any group members like to share as well. It'll be a great opportunity. Thanks, Anu, for posting that. So several links in there for feedback, registration for next month, and the Facebook group. Oh, math, of course. Oh, I think I'm in the math reps group, actually. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Lisa. Good question. I believe we have to register. Oh, yep, all sessions if you're already registered. Yay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We do have some more information about the California educators from the CDE Foundation. Yadira, if you're here, this is going to ask you to speak to this, but this is an opportunity for California teachers with the stipend. So anyone who is not a California educator teacher, you don't need to stay for this part. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I am a new mom, so I'm going to be off camera because I am tending to my little one at the moment. But let's multitask and let's get into it. As many of you know, we have this wonderful opportunity with the EWIG grant to include stipends for our professional learning sessions. And so those payments are actually going to come directly from CDE Foundation. So I know that that's one very popular question, and I like to kind of say that one up front. And so any educators or paraprofessionals who are working in the classroom during regular instructional time are going to be eligible for this. So we have, as you can see, who does that include? We have counselors, district administrators, instructional coaches, librarians, paraprofessionals, school administrators, and of course, teachers. And so basically what we're going to have is we do have attendees are going to be tracked, and so we have attendance forms that are going to help us know how many professionals are going to be taking advantage of these stipends. And so you will need to complete your hours. Thank you so much. So you're going to have, for example, you'll have the synchronous time and then the asynchronous assignment on top of it. And that's something that we're going to make very clear to all attendees and participants in advance. And then, of course, facilitators are also going to help reinforce and remind along the way. And so let's say you attend your EdTech playground for 90 minutes. And then the other half of that is going to be the asynchronous time. So you'll need to complete the assignment, which is another 90 minutes. So it's very important. The keywords are attending and completing, and we are tracking that information. And then that way, when the paperwork is submitted, so we will need things like your W-9, for example, to get that payment out. We do have a system for that, which can either get you an e-payment or a check. We do send out the information saying, okay, we've gotten your W-9 and here are your options. What would you like? And so that will be available based on your participation.
Yadira, to jump in. Hi, everyone. My name is Glennon. I'm the Director of STEAM Initiatives at the CDE Foundation. As Yadira has outlined, you'll be given a link to a survey here shortly that will allow you to complete feedback and opt in to receive your stipend. I saw in the chat a question about what is a W-9. A W-9 is a tax form, which is required to set you up as a vendor or a recipient of funds from the CDE Foundation, which is really from CDE and our grant. And that will come to you via DocuSign. None of this will come to you until the asynchronous activity deadline has been completed, at which point we'll reach out to everyone who's completed both live attendance and the asynchronous activity, notify you, hey, you've completed all the activities necessary. Expect a DocuSign to arrive as the secure way to collect the form, at which point the DocuSign will come, you'll complete that, and then there'll be next steps in receiving payment. So those are the steps. If you have any questions about receiving the payment or timing or anything related to that, know that you can email us at seasonsofcs@cdefoundation.org. There won't be any activity again on processing payments until after the asynchronous assignment deadline, which I believe is in about a month. So I'll pause there. So the next steps again are: 1, complete the feedback and evaluation survey and provide your information. 2, complete the asynchronous activity. And then 3 will be to complete the forms and paperwork required digitally to receive the payment.
Thank you, Glennon.
And Jesse, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to have you go back one slide just so I can walk through really quickly what the 90-minute asynchronous assignment looks like. That sounds daunting. Take a breath. It's really not. We tried to make it as accessible as possible. What we want you to do is to take all the great information that our presenters like Lisa and Jeremiah share at each playground and put it to use. So it's in the form of a hyperdoc. I'm going to grab the template for you so that you can sort of browse through it if you want to take a peek. We'll follow the same format after each EdTech Playground. It asks you to attend the EdTech Playground, which you've all done. So check, you've done the first thing on the list. Awesome. And then look at the resources from the presenters. So we've linked all of those resources in our slides. Go through them, take a look, maybe find one or two or more, right? There were so many shared that apply to you and your particular setting. Apply what you learned and create something. So maybe that means you just take a template and you have your students do a math rep and you take a picture of it. That's an artifact, right? Maybe you saw something and you were like, oh, that gave me an idea, but I don't see a template yet that matches it. And you made your own template. That's also an artifact. So you create your artifact, you post to our Padlet, which is linked on the HyperDoc. Jeremiah shared that idea, right? We're better together. We are the collective expertise. So the idea is we want to see all of the artifacts and ideas that are shared across our network. And then you post on Flip a reflection that answers some questions like what worked well, what would you do differently? If you were a teacher who hadn't used this tool or strategy yet, what advice would you give them? And so the idea is just like our map at the very beginning, we're trying to collect and share all of our implementation of the strategies shared at the resources. So we're estimating that putting the work into practice will take about 90 minutes. So the 90 minutes in the playground plus the 90 minutes-ish on the HyperDoc add together to a stipend.
And just to add one more thing, thanks so much, Stephanie, for explaining that. In our feedback form, which I'm dropping in our chat just one more time, it's going to be really helpful for our team to plan if we just get an idea for who's gonna embark upon this asynchronous assignment. So section 3 in the survey is just your opportunity to let us know that you'd like to do this. So we'd really appreciate if you made it all the way to section 3 in there, and hopefully it's not too many clicks for you.
Thanks, Tawny. And there's a couple questions in the chat that I want to address. So one question is, I missed the minutes, and so Glennon's putting in the chat, thank you, make up your missed time with the asynchronous activity. All of our EdTech Playgrounds are going to be recorded. So if you're like, wait, but I want those minutes of Jeremiah and Lisa's brilliance back, like how do I get them? The recording will be posted on our website. Also, if you are in a subject area where you're not teaching math, yes, you can apply this reps concept to a different subject area. You could also try a different EDGE protocol. So the idea is just that we want you trying the tool or the strategy in a way that makes sense for you and your context, and you know who you work with the best. Yep, so I won't have ELDs this year, but I could use 8 parts. Great, I love how you're already thinking that through.
I did want to kind of chime in regarding the stipends. I just had a meeting today regarding our summer of CS stipends, and just a reminder that sometimes when you use your school email for these types of transactions, there are firewalls. So that's something to kind of keep in mind from the very beginning. And I'm sure that's the preferred email, but just making sure that we're in communication and that you're patient if that happens. That is something that we've been seeing a lot of. So I just kind of want to get on top of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Yadira. And last thing, if you just give our team 24 hours, we will have our HyperDoc with all of these links and the recording ready to go for you, hopefully sometime tomorrow. So if you want to check our Teacher Innovation Network, that's where we're going to be linking it. We also do a follow-up email, so I think we can link it in there as well. But let me just grab our website for you. I'll drop it in the chat. So you can come back and check it here, and the HyperDoc should be ready to go for you in about 24 hours.
Thanks, Tawny. And we had another question in the chat that if you miss a live session completely, are you able to make it up by watching the recording? And unfortunately, we do ask that you combine both an attendance at an EDGE protocol at an EdTech Playground and the HyperDoc So we will be taking attendance at each of the synchronous sessions. So try your best to make it to the live session. Okay, with that, that was a lot of information packed into the very end and a lot of good information throughout as well. We just want to thank you again so much for coming to our first EdTech Playground. We hope to see you again at some of the following playgrounds this year. Our facilitators will be sticking around for the next couple minutes if there's some additional questions, but if not, you're welcome to enjoy the rest of your evening.
Don't forget to fill out the feedback form before you depart.
Thanks,
That'll
Glennon.
serve as attendance and processing for your information and such. But I see some additional questions in the chat. So
Yeah.
before people depart, make sure to, it's a very short form. So please do that.
And Hetty, I'm seeing, can you attend individual sessions or do they build? Yes, each of the playgrounds are designed to be, you can attend them and you don't need to have attended the previous one. Yep, no problem. So pop into the ones that you can. We'll miss you, but we'll look forward to seeing you at the ones that you're able to make.
Awesome, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. If you have any other questions, hang around. We're here. Otherwise, enjoy your Tuesday. Maybe have some tacos. Taco Tuesday, anyone?